How to stay focused as a developer or designer is a thing that is important to me because sometimes it's really hard to get into the zone of development or design. I wanted to talk a little bit today about what it takes to make sure that you've got that focus and how to achieve it and sustain it. The first thing I noticed was that I'm usually a lot more productive early in the morning and then very late into the night. Knowing that these are my two most productive cycles, that's usually when I try to schedule up most of my important work. When I have to build a website or create a design, then I'll block out these sections so that I can put 100% focus into the development and into the design. Simply put, if I've got a website to design, then I'm going to block out 4 hours in the morning where I'm 100% focused on that. During those 4 hours, I'll put on some noise cancelling headphones. I'll listen to some music and I'll stop all my notifications. I'll make sure that there's no YouTube running in the background. I'll make sure that my phone is on silent. And usually I'll reply to most things after that 4-hour block. That way I can fully concentrate for whatever I'm doing during that period. After that, I can go through all my mundane tasks. So maybe at around 12 o'clock till about 5 o'clock, I'll work through all the tiny tasks that might have built up. That way, I'm sort of chunking everything together and I can get more done. Then late into the night is usually when things settle down a little bit. Usually what happens is I've got my family, and by the time they go to bed is the time that I can start up and do some more work. Usually during this period, everything's really quiet. So again, I can put on a headset and I can focus in a lot more on my work. This time is the time that people aren't really sending you emails. They're not really interrupting you. So again, you can get into that zone and focus. And this is usually when I like to do a lot of my development. Design is more when you've got inspiration and you've got that sort of mindset. So that's really good in the mornings. But by the late afternoons or even in the evenings, I find that I've lost a lot of that energy where you really require it when it comes to design. But for development, that requires a lot more focus and just determination. So what I do is at night, I'll have a look at some subjects I want to work on, maybe a few tasks that I have that need to be done. And then I just make a checklist of what I need to do. I find that if I don't have a checklist, then some of that focus goes away. It can be overwhelming when you have lots and lots of tasks to do, and usually each one of those tasks actually require a number of subtasks, such as if you're developing a feature, such as uploading an image to a website. It sounds simple in theory, but really there's so many different attributes to that. You'll need to have a script which does the upload, you'll need to store it into the database, you might need to resize it, and a number of different things. Each one of these is a function that you have to do. So normally what I would do is I would write out every single one of the items that I need to do for that. And I would go from the hardest item to the easiest one by one. I'll usually start at my hardest checklist items simply because they require a lot more effort. And at that time, I usually have a bit of energy to use. If I go through the easy items first, then I'll find I'll have run out of energy by the time it takes me to go to the hard items on my checklist. But if I start off on the harder items, then I feel a bit more fulfilled when I finish them. So this gives me a bit more energy. And I know that the leftover items that I'll have to do won't require as much effort, so I'll be able to finish those up a lot easier. And it'll feel like I'm almost going downhill rather than uphill, depending on the challenges that I have to face. With this, I find that it's important not to stay up too late into the night. It can be very easy to work in development and then get so focused in on what you're doing that you lose track of time altogether, and it might be 1 or 2 a.m. before you finish up and realize, wait, it's a little bit late. And because of that, you might end up not getting the sleep that you need to start a productive day the next day. So it's really important to have some set schedules for yourself. Put some alarms on to make sure that you block your time in accurately. And when it's time to move on, put a pause on everything and start on the next task. If you really need to focus in on a task for longer than 4 hours, make sure that you have a few breaks. Because if you're not, then your productivity will slowly go down and so will your focus. By having just 5 or 10 minute breaks, then you'll be able to re-energize your brain. I usually go grab a coffee or just some water to make sure that I'm getting some fresh air, maybe just a quick walk around the block. And usually what I like to do is when I'm feeling really frustrated when I'm developing or designing something, I'll just take a minute to really just stop, close my eyes and breathe. Just that one thing really helps me get back into the zone that I might have lost. Anyway, these are my tips for staying focused and productive when you're doing design and development. What do you guys do when you want to stay focused? I'd love to know. Anyway, my name's Adrian. I do videos around design and development, so if you do like this kind of content and you want to see more like it, hit subscribe, hit like. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.